Trent Telford is CEO of Qanapi. Trent, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. Agencies are struggling, working very hard to try to balance innovation, data quality, security, and transparency. What does that juggling act look like in your view for federal agencies, organizations inside government?
It's an important question, and thanks for having me here today, Francis. I really appreciate it. Look, I think if we take a step back, you look at all the money being invested in AI right now. We listened to the keynote speech this morning with Thomas Kurian and Karen. It's millions of dollars, it's billions of dollars, there's trillion-dollar companies around this now. There's an old saying in tech that garbage in, garbage out. AI now just aggregates that at such a exponential level. You've got data coming from all sorts of sources, structured data, unstructured data, could be sensors out in the field in a military scenario, medical devices, everything. I think one thing we need to think about, and we hear this coming up in government and federal all the time now, how do we make sure that data is trusted data? How do we make sure that when we aggregate all that, we come out with results that we can trust that data, particularly in mission critical solutions? And I think that's what you and I can unpack a little together today is how do we have confidence that we're not going to make poor decisions or lives are going to be lost because we haven't thought this through.
Yeah, one of the fixations that I've seen with people in the government now is around the concept of hallucination because of artificial intelligence. And I imagine what you're talking about is at the core of that, right?
Absolutely. So, our background as a company, we've been involved in post-quantum encryption and technology. And really it came up in the last 6 months with our big, we have partnerships with where we interact with Anthropic and OpenAI and Google DeepMind. And really we took that same principle and said, well, wherever the data's coming from, whether it's coming from a sensor on a tank or a medical device or a database, if we can encrypt that and make sure there's a cryptographically proven chain of provenance and then give permission for that AI engine to decrypt that data, I can then literally visualize a chain of provenance. And I think that's what people need to be able to ensure that what they're doing is correct. Now, that doesn't stop somebody putting wrong data and encrypting it, but it vastly reduces that risk, particularly of adversaries where they put in, wrong data into our systems to make the drone fire in the wrong direction or to make the outcomes of medical results, not correct in terms of FDA approvals, whatever it may be. So having a way of proving a chain of provenance, also the outcome. Mark Andreessen here at this conference, I think it was 2 years ago, said, corporate knowledge used to take 10 years or more, 20 years to build up in an organization. With AI, you could be getting new corporate knowledge within minutes, weeks, hours, months. You need to protect that. So similarly, how do you protect that information coming out, right?
Mm-hmm. The problem that I see organizations having with all of the things that you just described is, in some cases, retrofitting what they already have and then integrating what they already own with what they're collecting now. How do you recommend that organizations try to address that issue?
That's a really good question, because you can't go change all your historical landscape. You might have 20-year-old IBM mainframe systems through to the latest cloud applications or the new IoT connected battlefield. So our approach to it, and we're not saying we're the best at it, but we probably think we are, but we took an API approach. So we took a low code, take what we're doing with key management or encryption for AI. And if you've got a data source for AI that's, you need to pull that out using COBOL, really old code, or Python for a web application, or some new language that hasn't been invented yet for IoT. If you take an API first approach, you can easily connect everything to pull it out. And I think that's really important. You've got to make it easy for the customer to be able to take these data sources, ensure it's got integrity and provenance and accountability, right? Because there's a lot of money going into AI, and the people who are spending that need to feel that when they report to their all masters, all of us have masters to report to, that they're doing the best to make sure that there isn't hallucinations, that it is secure, that we don't have to answer to the public for why we screwed up, right?
Yeah. What's the best way in your mind to demonstrate that, to say this is what we've got and this is how we got what we got, so that you, the end user, you, the consumer, you, the citizen, whatever, can be confident with the results that we got?
Sure. So we often say to customers, and whether that's government customers or enterprise, pick a project, pick something small, put some guardrails around it. So you flag that, like anything, there's risk, and start with that. Start with, give us some data that comes from an old database, give us some data from a cloud application. We'll connect it up. We'll show it being encrypted. Give us your OpenAI, your Anthropic or Gemini model, and we'll show it going through. We'll visualize all the cryptography. Every single piece of data has a unique key for every bit of data. Show what's happened and report it and say, we did an AI project. We showed end-to-end FIPS 140, FedRAMP, the service is FedRAMP as well, FedRAMP approved Provenance chain. Start small, show that it can be done, and then imagine what can happen at scale.
Trent, it's great to have you here. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me.